Walk into any grocery store and you'll find dozens of different BBQ sauce bottles, all promising authentic smoky flavor, regional tradition, and backyard perfection. Spoiler, most of them are lying. While you've been grabbing familiar labels without checking ingredient lists, some truly questionable products have turned America's favorite condiment into little more than high fructose corn syrup with artificial smoke flavor. Major brands now list corn syrup as their first ingredient. Artificial coloring so potent it permanently stains fabric, and gelatinous textures that resemble mucus more than BBQ sauce. Some sauces are so candy sweet that consumers literally bake cookies with them. So let's talk about the 8 BBQ sauce brands that range from absolute disasters you should avoid at all costs to the authentic Texas pitmaster wisdom that actually delivers on flavor. Because life's too short to waste money on corn syrup disguised as BBQ tradition, smash that subscribe button because we're about to save you from some seriously misleading bottles. Number 8, Happy Belly Original BBQ Sauce. Launched in the mid-2000s as Amazon's private label grocery brand, Happy Belly ranked dead last by tasting table among 15 BBQ sauces. Reviewers stated, happy isn't quite the word we would use to describe our bellies or our taste buds. What you actually get is high fructose corn syrup, tomato paste, vinegar, modified food starch, and monosodium glutamate. The texture is gooey and gelatinous, described as a bit like watery mucus with an eerily smooth, unnatural shine. Here's the thing, it doesn't really taste like BBQ sauce. MSG dominates the palate instead of authentic BBQ flavors. The consistency is all wrong, not rich and thick like BBQ sauce should be. The real kicker is the nutritional nightmare. 60 calories and 15 grams of sugar per 2 tablespoon serving. That's approximately 60% of your daily added sugar from just one serving. At $2.50 to $3 per bottle, you're essentially paying for mucus textured corn syrup with MSG. It separates easily, doesn't coat meat properly, and leaves slick residue instead of flavorful caramelization. This exists purely as Amazon's loss leader product to drive Prime Pantry subscriptions. They're banking on consumers prioritizing Amazon convenience over actually reading the hundreds of one-star reviews warning about the texture. When your sauce has the consistency of mucus and professional reviewers can't even identify it as BBQ sauce, you've weaponized condiments. Number 7, Open Pit Original BBQ Sauce. Launched in the 1960s as a mass-market budget option, Open Pit got a brutal review from Meatwave. Artificial flavors had more in common with a science experiment than a barbecue sauce. What makes this particularly infuriating is the permanent staining from artificial red dye. What you actually get is high fructose corn syrup, tomato puree, vinegar, artificial smoke flavor, and aggressive artificial coloring. The texture is watery and thin like diluted ketchup with an unnatural pinkish red hue. Taste features harsh chemical smoke from lab-created compounds with artificial flavors that linger unpleasantly. And get this, it's too thin to stick to meat and runs off completely during cooking. Customer warnings are dire. Do not get this on your clothes. The stain will never go away. Multiple reviewers note it turns pulled pork an odd pink color that's unappetizing. This survives purely on brand recognition from the 1970s and 80s when grocery store options were limited. Conagra has zero incentive to improve the recipe. They're banking on shelf placement in the value section and packaging that screams nostalgic Americana. When your sauce's legacy is permanent laundry stains and pink meat discoloration, you're selling industrial dye with a BBQ label. Number 6, Kraft Original Slow Simmered BBQ Sauce. Launched in the 1960s and reformulated multiple times with declining quality, Kraft got slammed by BBQ sauce reviews with 1 of 5 stars. This is a hideous sauce. Food Republic noted it's the least expensive option with more of that artificial smoke taste. What you actually get is high fructose corn syrup as the literal first ingredient, followed by tomato puree, vinegar, molasses, and modified food starch. The texture is overly thick and gloppy, incredibly sticky to the point of being unpleasant. Taste is candy sweet dominance with aggressive artificial smoke. But here's where it gets tricky. Cooking makes it worse. It becomes pretty much all sticky sugar that caramelizes into burnt bitterness and completely masks meat flavor. Meatwave confirmed heavy reliance on sugar tips to balance way too much. A Reddit user perfectly captured the absurdity. With all that HFCS, why isn't this product on the syrup aisle? This is corporate cost cutting disguised as recipe improvement. Every reformulation since Kraft Heinz's private equity takeover uses cheaper ingredients to maximize margins. They're banking on consumers grabbing familiar childhood labels without reading ingredients. When HFCS is your first ingredient and your best professional review calls you least expensive, you're selling regret in a squeeze bottle. Number 5, Bullseye Original Barbecue Sauce. Launched in 1985, Bullseye became Burger King's official sauce until 2015 when they dumped it for Sweet Baby Ray's. Tasting Table ranked it number 11 out of 15, noting the smoky flavor to be as overwhelming as the Bull logo. Here's the most damning evidence. When a fast food chain that microwaves burgers thinks your sauce isn't good enough, you've achieved corporate rock bottom. What you actually get is high fructose corn syrup, tomato paste, aggressive vinegar, and molasses. The texture is very thick with rich consistency, but taste features overwhelming artificial smoke and heavy vinegar, which gave it an astringent taste that was not pleasant and lingered in the mouth. The combination of cloying sweetness and astringent vinegar drowns out meat flavor. Professional assessment praised texture, but taste failed completely with that astringent vinegar that lingered unpleasantly. This is the corporate sibling to Kraft Original with identical cost-cutting DNA. It lost its major Burger King contract in 2015 due to quality concerns. Documented public brand failure. When Burger King thinks your sauce isn't good enough for their customers, you've achieved a new low. If this is already saving you from a bad purchase, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's next. Number 4, KC Masterpiece Original BBQ Sauce. Founded in 1977 by Kansas City physician Dr. Rich Davis, then sold to Clorox Company, the bleach company, in 1986, and quality declined immediately. An actual Kansas City resident tweeted, KC Masterpiece is an abomination that has besmirched the good name of Kansas City barbecue. What makes this particularly offensive is the geographical fraud. Real Kansas City residents despise this sauce while tourists buy it thinking they're getting authentic KC BBQ. What you actually get is tomato puree, high fructose corn syrup, molasses, liquid smoke linked to cancer markers, and artificial caramel coloring. The texture is extremely thick. Taste features chemical-like undertone from liquid smoke and one-dimensional sweetness described as molasses goo. It becomes entirely too sugary when heated and burns easily, developing bitter notes. At $3.50 to $4 per bottle, you're paying premium prices for inferior product. Professional testers from Eat This eliminated it right off the bat in blind taste tests. The most absurd part, some people make cookies with it because it's essentially dessert sauce. Authentic Kansas City roots were completely abandoned after Clorox acquisition when the original recipe was replaced with cost-engineered formula. They're banking on tourists who don't know what real KC BBQ tastes like. When actual Kansas City residents call your KC sauce an abomination, your branding has become geographical fraud. Number 3, Sweet Baby Ray's Original BBQ Sauce. Founded in 1985 by Larry Raymond after winning the Chicago Rib Cook-Off against 700 competitors, Sweet Baby Ray's has an authentic origin story. But here's the thing, this is the most polarizing sauce in America. It's beloved by casual consumers, but dismissed as garbage and practically syrup by BBQ Reddit enthusiasts. What you actually get is high fructose corn syrup as first ingredient, tomato paste, distilled vinegar, molasses, and pineapple juice concentrate. The texture is thick and smooth with ketchup-like consistency. Taste delivers crowd-pleasing balance of sweet and tang with hint of smokiness. It tastes exactly like you'd expect, but it's a little on the sweet side. The nutritional data reveals 17 grams sugar per 2 tablespoons. That's 340% more sugar than Stubb's. At $2.50 to $3.50 per bottle, this offers the best quality to price ratio in the HFCS category, though that's damning with faint praise. It beat out Kraft and Bullseye to win Burger King's supplier contract, won by being least bad of bad options. This targets mass market with accessible flavor profile that's not too tangy, not too spicy, and sweet enough for children. Bottom line, it survives on being good enough for most American sugar-conditioned palates. Beating 700 competitors in 85 is impressive. Refusing to improve the recipe for 40 years while HFCS remains ingredient number 1 is corporate laziness. And if you're finding this ranking useful, hit the like button. It really helps the channel cut through the noise. Number 2, Heinz Classic Sweet and Thick BBQ Sauce. This long-standing product leverages Heinz's 150-plus year tomato expertise. Reddit BBQ enthusiasts praise it. Heinz has some astonishingly good sauces. Meatwave called it simply outstanding for store-bought sauce. What you actually get is tomato ketchup base using Heinz's superior tomato quality, Worcestershire sauce, vinegar, brown sugar syrup, and real spices. The texture is thick but smooth with ideal consistency that coats evenly, perfect for dipping and cooking. Taste features complex layering where sweetness is balanced by vinegar tang and umami depth from Worcestershire sauce. It avoids the one-dimensional sweetness trap through thoughtful ingredient selection. At $3.50 to $4 per bottle, higher price is justified by superior flavor and versatility. The Worcestershire edition demonstrates thoughtfulness completely absent in cost-cut competitors like Kraft Original and Bullseye. This leverages Heinz's century-plus tomato expertise. They actually understand tomatoes better than any mass-market competitor. It's a corporate sibling to Kraft and Bullseye but maintain quality. Proof that corporate products can deliver quality when protecting brand reputation matters. Number 1, Stubb's Original BBQ Sauce. Founded in 1968 by legendary Texas pitmaster C.B. Stubb, Stubblefield at his Lubbock BBQ joint where he cooked for Willie Nelson, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Muddy Waters, Stubb's has authentic credentials. Tasting Table ranked Stubb's spicy variant number 2, calling it legendary with all the subtle sweetness, vinegary tang, and smoky punch expected from quality sauce. What you actually get is tomato puree, distilled vinegar, real sugar, not HFCS, molasses, salt, and genuine spices. The ingredient list reads like actual food. Taste delivers authentic BBQ complexity where vinegar tang leads, followed by tomato, molasses depth, and black pepper finish. And get this, only 30 calories, 5 grams sugar, and 250 milligrams sodium per serving. That's 40% less sugar than Sweet Baby Ray's while delivering more flavor. At $3.50 to $4.50 per bottle, premium pricing is completely justified by ingredient quality and authentic Texas Be By Your Wisdom. This consistently ranks in top 3 across professional and consumer reviews. The authentic origin matters. Even after McCormick acquisition in 2015, recipe integrity was maintained. McCormick recognized brand value existed in the authentic recipe, not cost engineering potential. When a legendary pitmaster's recipe survives corporate acquisition intact, you know McCormick understood they bought gold, not a formula to cost engineer into bronze. At the end of the day, great BBQ sauce comes down to one thing: ingredients that actually taste like food, not a chemistry experiment. The bottom tier drowns you in high fructose corn syrup and textures that resemble mucus. The top tier proves you don't need corn syrup. Dominance to create authentic BBQ flavor. You just need real sugar, quality tomatoes, and respect for tradition. Happy Belly's gelatinous disaster and Open Pit's fabric-staining science experiment represent everything wrong with budget products. KC Masterpiece's corporate betrayal shows what happens when bleach companies buy BBQ brands. But Stubbs and Heinz prove that even corporate-owned sauces can deliver quality when recipe integrity matters. Read the ingredient list before you trust the label. If high fructose corn syrup is the first ingredient, you're buying candy, not BBQ sauce. Hit subscribe if this changed how you'll buy BBQ sauce, and drop a comment telling us which brand you think we got wrong.